All right, I think we are past one hurdle, and oops, I gotta take care of the rest. So let me see. Hey everyone. Oops. I gotta take care of the rest. So let me see. Hey everyone. Oops. I gotta take care of the rest. So let me see. Hey everyone. Alright, we are almost there. I don't like the sound of it, so let me just try to figure something out here. Alright, we are almost there. I don't like the sound of it, so let me just try to figure something out here. Так, почему оно ловит? Тест. Almost there. Okay. Almost there. Test. Why is there an echo? Why is there an echo? Oh, I know why. Sorry. Okay. I think I figured it out. Oof. Alright, this should be a little bit better now. Let me move the mic over, and I think we will be ready to go in a second. So thank you, folks. Okay, round 2. Let me see. So I think we are all right. I'm gonna bring up my comments now so I can actually see it. Live chat right here. Okay. Okay, let's roll. I'm gonna have a glass of water nearby. And sorry about the technical difficulties. I think the last time I did a live Q&A was maybe 2 years ago. It was probably around when the COVID started, or maybe even earlier. And I did spend the last 2 hours just remembering how to set up the software, do all the hardware. As always, certain things didn't work. I was gonna do this on a different computer, but then at the end I've MacGyvered this solution. I also wanted to make sure that there's decent lighting, that there is you can actually see one of my aquariums behind me, and that you can also see me nice and clear. So hopefully we are there. Okay, so this is the first Ask Me Anything, so I'll actually use your comments as the topics. So for anybody who has been following my channel for a while, you know all the different aquariums that I have, and I'm probably going to talk a little bit about all of them. But if you have specific questions, this is the time to do it. So you can ask me questions about this aquarium behind me, my treasure reef, my farm, my AquaticLog software. So many of you know that the AquaticLog app, aquaticlog.com website, as well as the one for Android. I am the only developer. I'm the only one who does all the work, and I try to do it on a weekend whenever I have time. So again, if you have any questions about the app itself, please do. And I am now going to start going through the list. So, bumpy ride. So we've got right now only 7 people here. Hopefully more are gonna join us soon. If you can share the link with others, let's have a little bit more fun. I see 8 now. Can I get 9? And just saying hi to Brian's Aquariums. That's a cool name. The Realist PJ. I'm sure another great nick. All of your nicknames are awesome. And then the man. So let's answer then the man's question. Do I use calcium reactor? So first I must say that I have about 12-13 years in reef aquarium hobby. So I started out, fairly, I can now say a bit of an old school. So we had access to, back then there was no LEDs really. So everything was T5 or metal halides. And I never got into calcium reactors. I think back then you would read articles or watch videos by Mr. Saltwater Tank and a few other old schoolers that were all kind of doing this tree of, are you an experienced reefer? Are you a tinkerer? Do you want something simple? Do you have a large system, small system? And every time I filled out any one of those questionnaires, it turned out that I would never really qualify myself as somebody who would want it. So that was a bit of a deterrent at the time. And one thing that I'm already struggling with my pH being rather low in my aquariums, all of them, and we can talk about my stance on pH and what I've done. But I've never ventured into calcium reactor. To be honest with you, I'm a little bit intimidated by both being able to support one more piece of equipment that has multiple knobs, multiple things that you can adjust, the flow, the effluent, so basically how fast it goes, making sure that the CO2 doesn't run out, because I'm really guilty of it doing something like this on planted aquariums. And almost any other aquarium that I had, I never had space for a calcium reactor. So all the time I have been using just dosers. But lately, now that my farm has grown, I've been more and more thinking about it. This is definitely a big entry in terms of money as well. So in terms of finance, we're probably looking at least $1,000 all in, maybe more, because I don't think I would want to go just for this small one. I need to go for the large one. I need to go and learn how to do multiple chambers. You do magnesium as the second one, And then there's no clear winner there. Like, I mean, there's Geo, there's a whole bunch of other names, but I don't know which one to pick, and just have not spent any energy in this. So I don't run calcium reactor. I always wanted to. I know a lot of my friends in the hobby who have gone big at some point, switched to calcium reactor, but they also end up doing all three. They do calcium reactor for like kind of the base. You've got the dosers also, because sometimes calcium reactor is not enough. I'm thinking of you, Dane, and also you now everybody's using Kalkwasser because this is the new old hotness. So that's my answer about calcium reactor, and I see we're up to 12 people. Holy smokes! All right, moving on. And by the way, if I don't answer the question fully, or if you want to riff off of it, just write in the comments and I'll go through the list as well. So Brian's Aquarium is asking, saying, I appreciate the time you put into this. I know it's a ton of work. Thank you. Yes, Brian's Aquarium, thank you very much. It is, sometimes I'm asking myself why I do this. Then I look at something like this and I appreciate this having in my vicinity. So what do you keep your alkalinity, calcium, magnesium, nitrate, phosphate at? So Brian's Aquarium, first, and I always try to kind of mention that in most of my videos, all of you can go right now to aquaticlog.com and type in DTUM, so DTUM, or maybe search for treasure, but you'll find every single aquarium that I've ever kept. And oh, hold on a second, let me just do this. Okay, playing with the camera as well. So you can go online and you can see the history of every single aquarium and every single parameter that I've ever logged for any one of my aquariums. And you can actually see this one here is considered treasure farm because it's connected to my farm system, but also I have a treasure reef, and you can see where I'm at. Now, also where I keep it and where I want it to be are two separate things. So I'll elaborate a little bit on that. Let's start with alkalinity. I think I'm trying to have an alk of 8.3. This is kind of what my goal is, but I find that unless I do everyday testing, and I don't, I try to test my alkalinity at least twice a week, but maybe 3 times a week. And again, if I'm fairly stable, I'll test less. If I'm out of the range, then I'll test a little bit more frequently. And I find that for alkalinity, the things that matter are sometimes obviously the lighting schedule. So every time I change my lighting schedule, I know my alkalinity is going to change. So if you increase the intensity, your alkalinity is going to come down because corals are going to use up a little bit more alkalinity throughout that day. Same applies for example, Kalkwasser. So if I dose Kalkwasser and I forget to top it off, or it becomes a little bit weak, it will also affect my alkalinity. So while I strive for 8.3, historically I've been all over the place, and I'm trying to keep it level, but I just don't have as much time as I'd like to be testing it regularly. At some point I might invest in Trident, and maybe that will help, but right now this is where I'm at. Now switching on to calcium, I've only recently started to measure calcium. For the longest time I've been just using ESV Bionic, so I would dose the same amount of alkalinity as calcium, and that never steered me wrong. Lately I've been measuring calcium separately. I try to go for about 450, but again I'm not too hung up on that. And lately I've been dosing alkalinity and calcium at separate volumes. Now magnesium, say 1350, 1400, this is what I'm going for, and I dose just off-name magnesium at the moment. And actually no, I started recently doing NIOS magnesium, which I liked a fair bit, but I've been trying both, so no name and NIOS. Now where I think things are going to get a little bit more fun is nitrate and phosphate. So those are like a really loaded topic. First of all, there is the whole thing about the Redfield ratio and just a ratio in general. I always thought that the Redfield ratio was 1 to 16, so 1 part phosphate to 16 parts nitrate, but lately everybody's been talking about 1 to 100, that's the new hotness. So whatever it is, but I try to have had always about 5 to 10 to maybe 15 nitrate, so parts per ppm, so parts per million. And then my phosphates I've always tried to hit about 0.1, so basically 0.08, 0.12, this is all good. However, this is what I was always aiming for. Now where I'm at, this aquarium, because it's connected to a large system, I have to feed coral and throw a whole bunch of stuff in here. I've got tons of fish, and my phosphates are always coming towards 0. I've introduced the sand to help with that and a few other things, but still I have to feed my coral very, very heavily, at least 2-3 times a week. But my treasure reef is the opposite. I don't feed any coral, and lately if you go to aquaticlog.com and take a look, I think it's about 0.5 on the phosphates. And don't take my word for it, so this is, I will show it right here, this is my AquaticLog app. I'm not sure if it's gonna focus on me, so maybe like this. So AquaticLog app, and we've got my farm and my treasure reef, and if I'm looking at it right now, I've got 0.5 phosphate, 19 nitrate, so even higher, and 8.8 alkalinity. I've measured it 5 days ago, and my farm, or this aquarium here, has 8.4 alkalinity, 7 nitrate, so I keep bumping it up. I dose about 50 milliliters per day of nitrates, so potassium nitrate solution that I prepare myself. My phosphates are 0.02, so like I said, they're bottoming out, and calcium is at 420, whatever it is. So I hope that answers your question. Let's move on. So then the man, I run calcium reactor, but looking to run kalkwasser as well for pH. What's your tips for that, as it raises alk lots? Is there a certain time frame to add kalkwasser, and I have a Kamur STP to use? So this is a really good question, because I've just been banging my head about this whole kalkwasser addition. I know some people even do the paste. I don't do the paste. I just first I've MacGyvered my own just a container with a magnetic stir, which I really liked, and it worked really well because I found that the solution was more saturated. However, over time the base started to get thinner, because the magnetic stir, that pill, was actually shaving off pieces of plastic. So it came down, and at some point I decided everybody was using the Avast Marine, the large version, and I bought 2 of them, and I put one on my large system, one on a smaller system, and I've been running it. Now, in terms of the time of day, I have been using, first I was running 24 hours, and I still don't understand why people don't do it, because in my opinion, it's going to bump everything up. Yes, during the day your alkalinity, your pH is going to come up, but I never thought this is a problem. You just introduce more alkalinity into your system. But everybody, you listen to what Chris at ACI is saying, a few of my friends are saying as well. They all do the dosing of kalkwasser during the time when there's no light in the system. So I have switched both of my kalkwassers to kalkwasser dosers to that, and it works. Now the trick there is you have to calculate. So this is why I didn't like that, because then you need to, if you just switch to half of your time period, then ostensibly you are adding half of kalkwasser into the system. So what everybody's doing is now you need to calculate your daily evaporation, which I didn't want to do, and then you have to double the amount and dose all of that at night, and then you're basically playing with the system so that during the day it will evaporate that extra. So your level in the sump is actually going to change, which I never liked. But for some reason nobody's talking about this and everybody's doing it this way, so I don't know, it sounds a little bit silly to me, but I'm doing that for now. So hopefully that answers your question. Tips for plating monties, having issues getting the polyps out on a starburst. So you're not the only one. I find that polyps lately have been a big issue for me. So I actually don't see many polyps on my acros, or well, the monty actually I'll have to check. I don't even think of my starburst as kind of something about the polyps. Now, LPS and all of this stuff is obviously not a problem, but when it comes to monties, I don't think I can answer this question. However, one thing I will say, and this is what I'm going to try doing maybe as early as next week, is I will start going more aggressively about changing my RO membrane. I was listening to I think it's American Reef, and there was a great interview with Sean Baker Corals, so SBB Corals, something like that. Is a really nice guy, and he gave a few tips, and one of the tips was to change RO membrane a lot sooner, and he actually connected that to polyp extension. Now, I'm doing everything else by the book. I mean, I don't think I've done anything differently. I know I was recovering from a little bit of poisoning of heavy metals. That's the theory. But now I think my next step is going to. First of all, I've installed the chloramine filter blocks. So maybe that should help. But I didn't actually notice any difference. And my next step is going to be to not only just trust the zero TDS, but I will probably go and change my membrane. Usually I've changed those membranes every year and a half, but I'll try to go a little bit more aggressive and see if it makes a difference. But I want those polyp extensions. I don't know what's going on. I can show you all the coral food that I throw in here. I do this fancy fauna marin. I'll show it right now. I've got quite a regimen of not only doing this organic stuff and some aminos. I don't know if it does anything, but I've also, I mean, this one smells like it should be doing something. So the minas I throw in the tank every 2 days, and I've never seen any polyp extension to come out because of that. So if you think you know what to do about polyp extensions or have a few tips, please let me know. But so far this could be better. This could be better. So, all right. How many aquariums do you have? Also, is there a way to have many tanks in an aquarium? So this is Balta Rodriguez. Balta, good question. If you ask my family, they'll say I have too many aquariums. And actually, my family also has a few aquariums. So, like for example, there is an axolotl tank in our household, and it's pretty awesome. So the axolotl is kind of a salamander. It's cold water, so you have to chill the water through evaporation, and it's fresh water, and it's pretty awesome. But I have, if you look back in some of my recent videos, I do a full walkover. At the moment, I don't have any more freshwater aquariums. I actually used to have at least two. Again, if you go to AquaticLog.com and search for DTUM, D-T-U-M, you'll see all of my aquariums that I've had and kept since I created AquaticLog. So there's probably at least 20 of them in there, and you'll see all the parameters and everything else. It's silly. But I currently have one system, which is my treasure reef system, which is awesome. It's a mixed reef. It's got a beautiful clam, tons of tangs in there, and this is a large water box system. It's a 5-footer, perfect perfect size. And then I have, technically it's one big aquarium, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4 aquariums and a large sum, all connected together into this system. So this system here this is a water box. It's a 4-footer, recently come out series, and it's plumbed into my farm that also has a large coral bed, and it has 2 more aquariums plumbed in. So too many aquariums, but the nice thing about it is at least if I don't need to check my water parameters in more than 2 systems ever, and I have a little bit of a backup, I guess, between them. So I do like this a fair bit, and it's a lot of work, but I do like it. Now, keeping multiple tanks has never been a problem for me. If anything, this is what I try to keep in my system most of the time, is tangs. I love tangs. They're probably my favorite fish, and you just have to know which ones. I don't know if I believe this whole, you introduce the most aggressive one last and whatnot, but I do find that certain ones are just not gonna be well with each other. So you always want tanks that are different shapes. So for example, the purple tank, it's a zebra soma, and it's going to look very similar to the yellow tank. So you might have an issue with that unless your tank is large. Also, having lots of spaces for them to hide, disseminate the aggression, that's also helpful. Now, same goes for powder blue and powder brown. It's very hard, and I know my buddy Felix was able to do it, but still they don't get along very nicely there. So if you have a very large aquarium, you can get away with a lot. If you have smaller, you probably have more issues. I also had, once in a while, you just get like a very temperamental fish that's just not going to be nice, and that is I've seen this before, and let's just say sometimes you may not luck out, so then you will need to remove it. But most of the time, just look at the shapes and maybe ask some of your friends, or look. You can even go to AquaticLog and see, for example, a particular fish. You can search for the species, and then you'll see every aquarium that keeps that particular fish. So you can actually do it right now. So go there, search, and then you are able to find all other fish that are compatible with him. So you will see all the other fish that a person keeps for their aquarium. So find something that's similar size, and I think you should be okay. So hopefully that answers your question. We are up to 21 people, folks. This is a Sunday night reefing. Maybe I'll do more of those at some point. So I appreciate all the views, and this is definitely fun. Next, Blake Stewart, hey Blake, asks me, are you still running the same lighting schedule that is in Aqua Illumination signature section? I'm currently using Yannick Desvignes and I'm wanting more color pop. So yes and no. I run something very similar, and if you go back 2 or 3 videos, you'll actually see me talk about the color schedules. I think it's 10K versus 20K video, which seems to be quite popular. But I talk about the lighting schedule for this aquarium and the one in the Treasure Reef. And I've tweaked my signature series a little bit because I'm using 64 HDs there, but you can actually download the latest one that I use. So in principle, I haven't strayed far from it, and I really like the colors that I get, but I use those 2 aquariums. I run a completely different lighting schedule, and it's a different aesthetics. And to be honest with you, so right now this is when the schedule, so this aquarium runs fairly early in the morning, so right now it's starting to go into the blue, but most of the time throughout the day it's actually 10K look, and I absolutely love it. This is my favorite way to look at the fish and some of the coral. And I did shoot a pretty in-depth video where I talk about both lighting schedules and compare them, and you can download it and try both in your Mobius app. So hopefully that answers your question, Blake. Bo Peep, loving the reef. Hey Bo, yeah, yours is quite nice as well, so good stuff. Dan the man, appreciate the information, thank you, as not many people know about it and you just helped me lots. Well, I'm glad I was able to help you. So the realist as opposed to less real PJ, that makes sense. My flow lights and params are all good, but my RODI filters are aging. Yes, so I have a little story about the RODI filters. So I think we don't really know a lot of times what's going on with our water supply in the city. And I anecdotally have heard from multiple people that around spring in Toronto area, for example, a lot of SPS keepers get exactly the same symptoms right around the same time, where there's like a certain detriment to the health of the SPS. They sound a little bit aggravated. And I think that is, and not I think, the people that told me that, they all think that the city sometimes may be changing something in the water, or maybe they dumping something. We as humans don't notice it, but our corals do. Is that really the case? I have no idea. It makes me wonder what kind of water we are drinking and what it actually does to us. But this is something that I've certainly pondered, and that's why I've introduced the chloramine blocks. I talked to my buddy Dimo, the owner of Reef Paradise, and he suggested the same. So I've switched to chloramine filters about 2 months ago, or a month and a half ago. I must say I don't know if I've noticed any differences, but that's what happened. I'm gonna grab a little bit more water. So good luck with your RODI, and let me know. Erwin D. Rick, I hope I pronounced it correctly, or Ricky. Hello, you have 4 MP40s. Yes, I have 4 MP40s on this aquarium. I have only 2 on my 5-footer, and I seem to be able to get away with it. And I use just regular reef crest at random most of the time. I don't do anything super fancy. I always want to, but I sometimes forget. Also lately Mobius hasn't, it has been a little bit painful to change the parameters, so I try to just set and forget at the moment. Plus, my original vision for this tank was all SPS, but I'm now going more LPS, so that's why I'm actually bringing it a little bit down. It's also about the sound that it makes, so I'm very particular about this. But right now this is pretty awesome, and I do like how it turns out during kind of the nighttime. So as you can see, there is flow. The flow is fairly even, and 4 of them achieve it quite nicely. Stefan L. Hello from Germany. What are your MP40 settings? Ich möchte eine Bier. That's the only thing I've learned at school. But hello, Stefan, and I must say that I think I just talked about it. I use mostly Reef Crest at random. I'm still experimenting after all these years, and I really have this thought that there is some unique way to really try it all out. I think when MP40s just came out and when I started using them, I think I made sure that throughout the day there was every single mode that I've tried. There's lots of waving stuff and whatnot, but lately just been very, very simple. I'm tempted to do a lot more, but I'm also I really like the gyre and whatnot, but I'm always scared that it will make things worse when it comes to the stability, well, the physical stability of the aquarium or the seams or whatnot. So I don't do this as much as I'd like, but I know there are some real gurus out there. I still think back fondly of Canada Corals, I think the original owners of them. So before it changed hands the first time and then the second time. So they had this at the airport location, and they had such a beautiful standing wave, which I don't know if they used MP40s, I think maybe they did, but that standing wave there, you almost get dizzy by looking at the top, but they've tweaked it so nicely, and the corals look very, very happy. So now that you've mentioned this, I'm tempted to play around with this, and maybe I will, but it's just the balance of things. So hopefully that answers your question, Stefan. Yes. Zwei beer. Okay. I'm more of a red wine guy, but I do like my beer as well. So I think those are all the questions in the list. We kind of I did answer quite a few questions, so I'll probably give it another minute to wrap things up. This is the first one that I've done in ages, this live stream. I haven't done this before, so it got a little bit bumpy. I know quite a few things I can do better to make it even more professional in terms of my sound, the lighting, the background behind me. So I have a few thoughts about this, and I think we can have it a little bit more fun, and maybe I'll try to do it a little bit more regularly. Maybe I'll actually even bring a beer or two to spice this up a little. So Brian's Aquariums, if you decide to get an auto tester, which one would you get and why? Trident, Mastertronic, or Alcatronic? So I don't know if Mastertronic and Alcatronic are the same brand. Maybe I think one uses the data to control things and the other one just measures it. There's the third one on the market as well, which the Cage Guardian, I think that's what it's called. So I don't have first-hand experience with any of them. I also know that even with Trident, people use it, and this is probably the most popular one, but also there have been some issues with this, so I don't think I would want to program the output. So for example, hook up my dozer based on the measurements, but I'd probably go for Trident right now. So this is this is the one that I'm exploring myself. Maybe I will at some point bite the bullet and get it, and if I will, I'll definitely document my experience with my aquarium. So yeah, this is probably what I would get. I'd get Trident, especially, you know, I do use Apex on all of my systems. I use it primarily just to control things, monitor things, but it's also nice to, for example, if I'm doing the feeding, I think once they figured things out at Mobius and make it a little bit more robust in terms of connectivity, then I will not use Apex as much or rely on it, but I want just one button where I press it, I'm feeding the coral, and then you do figure things out by yourself in terms of when to turn the pumps on, when to switch from strong to slow flow to strong flow, etc., etc. So Trident gets my vote. Yes, I used 2 MP40s. Nice, Stefan. Alcatronic tests on the Alc. Oh, Mastertronic does more, so I didn't know that. This is pretty cool. I don't have any experience. If folks at Alcatronic or Mastertronic are interested in my opinion, I'm more than happy to chat with them. But I don't know that many people that use anything other than Trident. But the Trident seems to be very popular, and almost everybody in Toronto that I know who uses it, I think everybody is using only Neptune products when it comes to that. So I think they got the market from that perspective. So I think we're gonna wrap things up. I appreciate your comments. There wasn't just one person talking, so this is, well, there was only one person talking, but we did have a bit of a group thing here, which is great. Like I said, I'm just testing the waters, so to speak, and yep, seems all right. And I'll do another one of those. Maybe we'll have this as a regular monthly thing, or maybe I'll find another time. I want to find the time when you can actually see the aquarium a little bit more. Oh, look at that, some polyps are coming out, so this is pretty cool. And I think it's going to be fun. We are going to talk, there's a lot of things to cover. There's lots of things about each individual coral. I can talk about that. I can talk about my experiences with the sand and quite a lot of failures. So I'm a big believer in sharing my failures with others so that others don't make the same mistakes. And I've made a few. So that is where we are. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. I try to post videos every Sunday at 5 p.m. EST, and you just happen to have watched one of my live streams. So thank you, and I'll see you in a week.